Good morning, guys, or afternoon, depending on where you are located around the globe. And welcome to today's episode of Market Check, brought to you by BB. A reminder, as always, that there is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about these markets. Happy Tuesday, guys. If we didn't see you yesterday, welcome back. Welcome back. Hope you spent some quality time with your family over the weekend, as we always say. Once again, Tuesday is a little bit red after a green Monday. We talked about this before. This is pretty common, right? Quote unquote Tuesday, because it is kind of famous at this point for how we tend to mean revert around this part of the week. We'll see how we trade into the rest of the week. We're going to break it down for you as well. I'm Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy. I'm joined by a full panel today of Max, Jackus Tucker, and Dr. Will's Outlook. Welcome, 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 guys. But real quickly, before we can start cooking, before we can start breaking down where we think Bitcoin is headed to next, I'm going to need you guys to smash that like button for us. And I don't want to have to, we might not have to bug you again, right? We won't have to bug you again for the like button smashing or the soybeans chart. If you just hit the like button right now, but we always appreciate when you guys smash the like button, of course, and enjoy our content. But yeah, let's talk about Bitcoin. We are chopping, right? We're still within the range. We tried to break out once again. And it looks like we are, even if this is a more shallow pullback than the previous two, right? We are somewhat still rejecting here on a lower time frame. But I'll be honest, guys, Bitcoin really does feel to me a bit like a beach ball underwater, right? You just keep pressing up against resistance and pressing up against resistance. And in the case of the current structure that I'm observing on Bitcoin right now, we are continuously forming higher lows. So market structure looks like it is just ultimately grinding higher, despite these pullbacks that are ultimately meant to chop you out of your positions. I look at altcoins. Altcoins are getting shredded across the board. We've seen this before, guys, for the last few weeks, right? How many times have we seen Bitcoin and ETH down 1 to 2% on the day, but you have altcoins down like 6 to 10%? This is pretty common, and altcoins, they can experience many of these days where you do see these pullbacks of that degree and ultimately not break their market structures, right? And that's something that we've continuously harped on, that there's nothing to be materially concerned about until you start seeing those market structures break to the downside, showing that weakness that you would typically see on a trend reversal. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything particularly notable here today yet. But obviously we want to see how we continue to react. Do we pull back into like 67, 66K? I don't know. Do we pull back to range lows? I don't know. But I am going to reiterate that it does kind of feel like, maybe not necessarily in Bitcoin, but especially in a lot of these altcoins and ETH, a bit like a beach ball underwater, where it's just kind of a matter of time and a game of patience before we see them break out from their current consolidations. And I think a lot of the sell-off today is, we are increasingly correlated to TradFi, right? That is simply inevitable. And the reality is we have the S&P down almost 0.5% today. And a lot of that is probably down to the fact that you have people hedging into CPI, a binary event. TradFi people do this every time. And in most cases, because of the sheer fact that we have hedges entering the market, you would have to imagine that volatility will probably get crushed tomorrow after the event, and that will lift price. Unless the print is just horrifically bad, which, when was the last time Wall Street inaccurately forecasted a CPI print to the degree that it caused a massive sell-off? It's been a long time. So I am curious to see where the S&P goes from here. But ultimately, from a position standpoint, you would have to imagine that CPI is ultimately, it's probably going to lift the index a little bit higher tomorrow. So we'll see how that impacts Bitcoin. But I don't want to ramble on too long. We got a full panel, a full cast and crew today that I know want to cook you up some delicious meals. So I'm going to open the floor for everybody. Would love to get y'all's thoughts on the market. We're going to break out. Is this the local bottom? Are we going to continue ranging for the next few weeks? What do we think, guys? Speechless.
Wow, I was just waiting for everybody. No one wanted to say a damn thing. Fine, I'll say something. I'll say a lot of things then. Wow. Unbelievable, guys. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you were saying, Tommy. Wow, sorry if that was a loud notification. Let me turn my my notifications off. Apologies if you guys heard that. It does really feel like a beach ball underwater, right? And this does happen more or less every cycle for crypto, where we have this brief pause right under the previous cycle all-time high, which is 69K for last cycle. And it tests your patience, it tests your conviction. It can be stressful, it can be annoying, and as we've talked about, it can also make you feel I mean, it can really, I mean, it's the same thing as testing your conviction, right? But it will only stop once you're convinced that prosperity will not happen. And I think a lot of people are now starting to get to that point where they're like, "Oh, I was so excited on this pump yesterday," and then, just to have it do what it's doing right now, they're just like they're getting emotionally chopped up, right? Maybe they're not actively trading it, but they are emotionally capitulating. But all of this, all this altcoin chop and bleed and, whatever, it's all Bitcoin's fault, right? Like until Bitcoin decides to, with conviction, bust above 75K and stop this little game that it's playing, it's just going to continue to churn altcoins. I mean, for example, last cycle when we were doing this, chopping and ranging under the previous cycle all-time high, we saw total 3 drop 31% when Bitcoin was doing this last cycle. So again, until Bitcoin decides, hey, I'm going to stop jeeting around, basically your alts are going to get eviscerated on every single pullback that Bitcoin does. But like Tommy said, high time frame market structure remains perfectly intact. Yeah, it's chopping. Yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, it's a little frustrating. But this isn't anything that we haven't seen in every other cycle. And again, high time frame market structure remains perfectly intact. So again, if you zoom out and you look at what happens after every Bitcoin halving, what are people really worried about? It's just chop, It's just chop. It's kind of a scalper's delight too. Like if you're a scalper and you're trading, I mean, have fun with this, right? Have fun with this. This is where you can shine because you're about to get blown out during this next leg up because you're not going to outperform Bitcoin going up, 500%. But enjoy this chop solidation and range while you have it, because the time to position and spot and turn your brain off basically comes right after the halving. I would argue it's already here, but the real fun begins after the Bitcoin halving, which is in 10 days. So yeah, I mean, it's just chopping. Relax, just like the titles.
I wanted to add to that real quick, and like for me, I'm enjoying it. Like I'm an enjoyer of this sideways because it's giving me more opportunity to get entries and things that I wanted to get before this market takes off. I think that a lot of people aren't viewing it that way though. They're always looking for the fast money, which was here. But once the fast money stops presenting itself, a lot of people think it's over. But in reality, the fast money when it stops presenting itself, it's actually opportunity for you to take positioning before the fast money comes back again. And I think that ultimately that's the direction of the market. Once Bitcoin kind of gets up there and starts moving again, like people are like, I'll give an example, right? And I'm not going to give names, but there's a couple coins I'm in that are utility coins, real projects, so on and so forth. And people are questioning whether these come back or not because they're like, oh, well, this has attention to that. It's like, you don't understand. We're just not at that froth part of the market yet to where you can look at these things and just stab and shoot and be like, okay, everything's going up. But if you position before that starts happening, you can make exponentials. And there's a lot of opportunity out there right now if people just look, right? And just position accordingly for that opportunity that's going to present itself in the market. And that's what I'm doing actively, man. I'm not playing around this cycle. Sorry about that. I was grabbing something, but
No, you're
yeah,
good. You're good. What do you want to look at here, Will? I know there's
I mean, it's literally just a trend line straight underneath, straight up. Do your angle trend line. You got higher lows positioning. I would just look for Bitcoin to bounce off that trend. That same higher lows, just draw a line across the lows of all those lows, and look for Bitcoin to remain relatively on that trend. If it fails that trend, that's even better. Why? That means we'll probably still remain ranged between the high and the low. The green, remember the green box we drew out last time, Tucker? Can you throw that back up there again for the 40K zone?
Yeah. Just this.
Yeah, just that in general.
Yeah.
If we fail, we're not going to go deep. That's not the point. We're just going to literally remain ranged. That's it. So I'm okay with a failure here too, and I want people to understand, like, your failure is not that deep. It's not. I would just expect the previous low, right? I would expect maybe between 65 and 60K as your low. That's it. Like, you're not going to get much more than that, in my opinion, on a failure. Could you dip a little bit lower at some point throughout this if you fail here on these higher lows? Sure. You could maybe get into 59, 58K zone. I'll entertain it. I don't think it's probable, but I'll entertain it. And I think that's a fair assumption from my position. Not trying to be cocky or anything like that, but like, just looking at the market for what it is, you are going into a secular bull run. They are trying everything they can up here to keep you from keeping your positions that you currently have, because they want you to sit in cash and they want you to expect the big drop that's not coming. I mean, you got. I pointed out yesterday. I threw up a chart too. Like, and if you could do a triple chart here, Tucker, you got Crow, you got BNB, and you got Ethereum. All three of them are sending in pennants right now.
What do you think about USDT dominance, though? Somebody just asked this question before we do that.
Yeah,
That's
no,
valid.
I don't agree with looking at it in linear mode. I think it's a much cleaner chart in log mode. I think that looks like a hodgepodge. If you start it, zoom in a little bit there, Tucker. We don't need to go back to the beginning, man. Like, basically where you have your green box drawn, like from there. Yeah, that to me is, we broke out of that trend. We retested it. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see it. Clear retest after a breakout, and I actually have a chart for that. I would like to show you guys. I'm going to pull a Tommy quick, because, well, first of all, look at this, guys. Like, this is I mean, this is just all we're doing. Like, we're chopping between the previous cycle all-time high and the quarterly open, with the Bitcoin halving in less than 2 weeks. But I want to show you the USDT dominance chart. I was actually working on this. I made it a while ago, right? But here, I'll hide this. I made this.
I think we bounce strong right now. But just quickly, Max, as I said before the show, and were discussing privately, guys, I said during this chop, they will be resetting the funding and make you question absolutely everything. And what is happening right now? Everyone's like, is it over?
Yeah, people really are. They are concerned about it being over, guys. It's volatile, right? Like, I get it, but I mean, you don't have to sweat it so much. It's as long as high time frame market structure remains intact, then then we are good here.
I wanted to ask you a question, if that's okay. You were here in 2021, right? When they pulled the carpet out from underneath everybody, was it max euphoria or max fear when they started just ripping the market to the downside?
Are you asking me that, Will?
It was Max chill.
It was yeah. Well,
When they're
I'll
ripping
get
into
my
the
perspective.
downside,
But
people were fearful, right?
no. So at the peak in 2021, everybody was still hopeful. Once you got your failed swing shoulder, and before that, everybody said there's no way the market's coming down. Absolutely zero. They're like, this market's too strong. We're going to a super cycle. Yada yada yada. What is everybody doing here? Everybody's asking if it's over.
Well, we're in the denial phase, in my opinion.
We are 100% in the denial phase. We're in the denial that we can break out. We are in denial that we can go up any higher. We're in denial on strength. We're in denial on USDT. USDT doesn't. USDT is almost like RSI, right? Overbought matters in a bear run, right? Overbought doesn't matter in a bull run. And the same thing with USDT. USDT can go up and prices can still rise with it. What would that incur? What would that mean? That would mean that you're getting more participants coming in and activating and getting into stablecoin while the markets are getting frothy and starting to move up. Like it can 100% happen in the opposite way that a lot of people read this because of the side of the hill that we're on. We're on the uphill. We're climbing. We're going up. We're not on the downhill. We're not rolling down the hill and slowly getting wrecked as the market's taking more and more away.
So let me narrate this chart for you guys right here. Okay, so this is USDT dominance up top, and this is total down below. Total is, just for those that are unfamiliar, total is the entire crypto asset class, just basically mushed together. It's Bitcoin, it's ETH, it's altcoins, it's everything. So what we're looking at right here is the relationship between basically stable coins and what percentage of the total crypto asset class Tether makes up, because Tether's the largest stable coin, and the relationship between how it affects crypto prices. So I've marked out this trend line. This starts back in 2018, and you can see it's marked by purple dots. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then recently 5. Okay, and I've got them all marked here on total. So on this trend line right here, guys, you can see this is when Bitcoin was at its first top last cycle, 64K, then the double top, 69K. And then recently, this was the bear market. And I'm suggesting that we have broken this trend line, right? This is a much, much cleaner trend than looking at it in linear mode. The linear mode looks warped. I think in order to even analyze a trend going back to 2018, you have to look at it in log mode. You would never chart Bitcoin on a 3-year basis, 4-year basis, 5-year basis, 7-year basis in linear mode. So you shouldn't do that for USDT dominance either. It's not an appropriate way to analyze the chart. You can't get enough information from it. So when I look at this, I say, well, we've broken down. USDT dominance is breaking down. The relationship between this chart, quick reminder, guys, quick reminder for those that are new or unfamiliar. Okay, USDT dominance breaks down. Total and Bitcoin, all your crypto assets go up. Okay, it's a negative correlation. It's the exact opposite. Okay, so what are we seeing right now? In my opinion, all of this here in a bear market, when we were, dropping sub 30K or sub 28K for Bitcoin, and total was breaking down. This was all a deviation. This is a giant range right here, in my opinion. And if you look closely, you can see right here where we're holding. We've now accepted back under this level, which was, USDT dominance resistance for many, many months, basically the entire bull market. We had our deviation in the bear market. We're breaking down from this trend, and now we're holding at the 3/4 range. Look at where we're holding perfectly. So what could I expect? Well, potentially USDT dominance maybe retests like 4.85, 4.9, but ultimately I am expecting us to move down and actually put in a deviation to the other side of this range, which would take USDT dominance sub 2%, which would take all of your crypto assets significantly higher. So again, I don't expect USDT dominance to go really, I don't expect 5% to be reclaimed. We're at 4.3. I honestly don't even think we'll make it up to retest this range high again. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I am expecting us to just continue to chop here at this 0.75 range and ultimately roll over, put it in a symmetrical deviation to this one on the other side of the range, and for a huge bull market to happen. So again, if this happened right here, we saw USDT dominance capitulate, you would see total, probably go up here. And that would be, the axis is over here, 10 trillion, 15 trillion, wherever it is. So again, it's a negative correlation, but that is my USDT dominance analysis. I think you have to look at it in log mode because this trend goes back to 2018. You would never look at Bitcoin like this and go, oh, you know what? Here we are. Let me just look at the chart like this. This is the, you can't look at, this is 2018. Like you can't get information from this. It's warped. You wouldn't look at USDTD in linear mode because you wouldn't analyze Bitcoin going back to 2017 or 2018 in linear mode. I mean, you could from the highs, right? Like you could look at this and go, all right, that's fine. But you would never draw a diagonal, and be like, oh yeah, like, this is, it doesn't work. Like it doesn't, it works much better in log mode. It works much, much better in log mode. So you should apply that same principle to USDTD.
Just my 2 cents there, Max. I think it's worth looking at both and trying to draw the best context you can. Just like you did now.
Yeah, I mean, it can't hurt to look at both.
I wanted to point something out because somebody said in the comments, and I always see this. No shade on the person that said it. It's a common thing amongst people who have no clue or are clueless, and that's
Will the comment attack.
But look, are you selling part of your portfolio to buy lower? 95% of people have jobs. Why do you need to sell any of your portfolio to buy lower? Why are you even guessing? Why are you even gambling with your positioning to try and buy lower? Like it blows my mind. If you think a bull run is coming, why would you even attempt that situation? Like if you could lose massive positions that and really dwindle your overall positioning trying to play that game, trying to play it. It makes no sense. Trading is different, right? If you're trading an asset, you're trading an asset. Dumping a portion of your portfolio to try and bid lower on a bunch of assets makes no sense at all. Absolutely zero. I don't know if you guys agree on that, but like that whole portion, like it just blows my mind when somebody asks that question.
I agree. Well, mostly when you try to buy back lower, when you try to sell and buy back lower, what you're essentially doing is you're being greedy, because you are feeling like, all right, this market, like the psychology aspect behind it is, hey, the market is dropping. I'm fearing it's going to drop a bit lower, but I'm bullish on the market, right? So I'm being greedy. I'll sell here and buy back slightly lower and get slightly more. And I cannot say it doesn't work, but what usually happens is that the moment you sell, you kind of emotionally say bye bye to your position, and then you refuse to buy back lower again, even if it does, because you start to be even more greedy, and you'll be like, it's like people that sold 20K on BTC, then it goes to 16K, and they are like, all right, I'm not buying here because it can go to 14K. And then if it were to go to 14K, they would be like, all right, it's going to 12K, and they would not buy anyway. They would sell the position, and what would essentially happen is what happened. It goes to new all-time highs.
And usually, in my experience, every time that and this is something that I'm sure we've all done at some point before. So a lot of it, I feel like we can speak from experience, right? Every time that I've kind of had that moment where I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to sell it and I'm going to buy it back lower, it's usually me capitulating pretty close to the bottom, right? It's more of like an emotional thing than, anything that's driven by the technicals, because from a technical standpoint, if you aren't willing to take, like, I mean, if you're trying to sell, ask yourself, would you be willing to short this level? And if the answer is no, then I mean, it's probably more just your emotion dictating things. And maybe that's related to your sizing, right? I mean, you might be oversized, and that's another conversation, but it's usually an emotional decision.
But
that was a great one, Tommy. I just gotta say that was a great one.
No, and I wanted to agree, and I think it is exactly what you said, Tommy. It's a lot of people they're oversized in the positions, right? So they're not comfortable with the amount of money that they have in their position. They know they were risking really hard on some risk and it didn't play out, and they're expecting that risk to get wrecked because they think that the market's going to get wrecked, and so they want to downsize. That's a different conversation. To me, if I'm oversized in a position like that, that's heavily risk, I would just rotate some of that risk to less risk. I'm not trying to sell to buy lower. It's rebalancing the portfolio. That's different than selling to buy lower. And I'm trying to educate here for the people that are in the audience, because I feel like it's not talked about enough. It's not understood. But like, if it goes back again to what Tommy said again, which is another great point. If you're not willing to short here, why are you willing to sell here? Like, most people, okay, well, let me just finish this part and we get the soybeans. Most people, they will not they will not, they won't sell to buy lower. What they'll do is they'll hedge their bet, right? How do you hedge a bet? You hedge a bet by shorting the market against your long position, right? So if you're spot long, you go in with an amount that you think that the market will drop in a short position against an asset or maybe a couple assets. And then if the market does drop and you're right, you don't lose anything. You actually gain money from leveraging that position. But if you're wrong and the market's right and the market says, "Hey, we're going up," guess what? You're going to lose that short position, but you're going to make it up on the spot because you know where the market is going ultimately, and you can make up that positioning. Like, I think a lot of people act as if they don't have jobs, which I know 95% of the people in the comments do have jobs. So you have an income. And if you have an income, you have money to buy the dip. Regardless of what you're saying, you do. Like, you can make that up however you want, but like, selling a portion of a portfolio is not the same as trading an asset. Trading an asset is based off of TA. Selling a portion of your portfolio is saying, "Oh, I'm scared, so I'm gonna try and buy. I'm gonna try and buy lower. I'm gonna try and be that guy."
What I recommend is selling portion of your furniture, right? You only need one chair, and then you can buy the dip.
So guys,
Okay.
listen, it's time to talk about soybeans. All right, it's time to talk about the importance of
Great sell.
soybeans. And here's the deal, guys. We're going to continue to talk about the importance of soybeans because you guys have earned it. You guys have managed to not like the video so much that now we're here talking about soybeans. Here's a nice little soybean setup for you guys. I think this is a good TP1. This is a good TP2. Here we'll even label this here. I think that this is what people want to see. I think this is what they need to see. And this is the difference maker right here, guys. This is the difference between the best traders in the world and people that are unprofitable, is understanding the importance of the 30-second soybean chart. And here it is, guys. Here's TP1, TP2, guys. This is the difference. When are my altcoins going to pump? Here it is, guys. Soybeans. You need to understand and study the soybean chart. But guys, for real, if you are enjoying the content, do us a solid. Please consider hitting that like button. We have almost 300 people on YouTube. We're not even at 100 likes, guys. I mean, come on now. That's pretty dark. That's pretty dark, guys. All we need is for you to just take 1 second out of your time, hit that thumbs up button. It really does wonders for the channel. It does wonders for the growth. And again, we are so appreciative of your guys' consistent support of what we are building here at Because Bitcoin. But we do unfortunately live in a world that is dictated by mega cap tech overlords, and it's a very kind of seemingly arbitrary way to evaluate which type of content should be boosted. And it's solely dependent on the level of engagement that we get from our audience. So guys, if you could please cater towards these overlords, help us grow, hit the like button. And also, if you are new here, hit the subscribe button. Again, this is Market Check brought to you by Because Bitcoin. We are live Monday through Friday at 10:55 a.m. Eastern time, talking charts, price, markets, generally having a good time. Sometimes we attack the comment section, but you guys know it's all love. But do me a solid, guys. We need you to hit that like button. All right, we're at 126. 150 would feel a lot better than 126. I'll tell you that. 150, about half of you liking the video, half of you liking the stream. That would certainly feel a lot better. Unless you guys want to keep looking at soybeans, like we could do we could do some really thorough analysis on like a commodity super cycle and just only talk about soybeans and how they're about to make their appearance on the global stage. So yeah, I mean, we could talk about, I mean, we could go a multitude of different directions. I mean, we could overlay, you know, the effective federal funds rate with the soybean chart. Here, let's actually do this here. So we're gonna do
I
until
need
we get
soybean versus US CPI.
well, see, actually, this is very interesting here. Is we have the effective federal funds rate down below, and we have the soybean chart above, which actually looks like it's forecasting interest rate decisions, as you can see very clearly here. I mean, soybeans are the backbone of everything, right? When did soybeans really start to curl up? It was actually months and months before the Fed decided that they were going to start hiking interest rates. So, I mean, look at the soybean chart now moving down. You know, perhaps it's going to be the same thing now. You know, perhaps soybeans, here we go, guys, soybeans moving up. And then, you know, roughly, you know, let's take a measured move. How many days, right? Soybeans led by, you know, almost 2 years, right? So now soybeans are moving down. Probably time for rate cuts. You know, probably time for rate cuts over here, guys. Soybeans are everything. Do you understand? Do you understand the significance of soybeans?
Study soybeans.
Study soybeans. You know, Vin Diesel's favorite food is the soybean. What are you
Study the
laughing
like
at? This is
button.
I don't
alpha.
know. I don't know about that, Max. I don't know about that. He doesn't take me as a soybean man. He takes me as more of a
Cocoa.
let's
Soy
see
milk.
here, lean hog futures kind of guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, they've had enough punishment for today. Tucker, I'm putting you back on the screen,
He's
man.
more
Oh,
of a
I was
mojito.
on the lean hog future. Oh man.
Nah,
Yeah,
but
Carlos, I'm not sure if I am either, man. It's just something that kind of happened.
what
Yeah.
what are your guys' thoughts though, Max, on hedging positions rather than selling to buy lower?
I think forfeiting your positions here is more risky. I think it's much riskier. I'm not interested in forfeiting any positions, and I'm also not overly concerned with hedging. I think my version of hedging is being somewhat diversified, you know, but it makes sense to be long here, you know. So I don't have any interest in trying to.
Max, there is actually a great feature. And by the way, well, I think hedging is way more better than selling because it's kind of the same but different. Not to mention you can earn nice fees on that, but you can, you know, there is a great feature where you can, you know, coin margin short, and you can keep your spot position and you just hedge against yourself, and that's way better than. I mean, as long as you at least have an invalidation, but like it's completely different because you keep holding the position. Versus if you sell it, you just set mentally bye to the position, and that's different.
Coin margin is big alpha.
It
Very
is.
big alpha.
Mm-hmm. It is indeed.
What kind of likes do we have to get to talk to them and tell them about coin margin?
Soybean maxis.
So 300 likes, 250.
Yes.
300.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do 300. Let's do 250 likes. All right, 250 is a fair take because we can go 1-to-1 ratio easily to 250, and then we'll tell you the coin margin soybean alpha.
That greedy jackass is back.
2016's having.
Here's the most annoying part for me. It's not. It's not any doubt or anything like that. Like I'm very confident and, you know, convicted in like the higher time frame thesis. What's annoying for me is just having to wait, you know, like it's literally all it is. I'm just kind of like, oh, just do it already. Like I know what's coming. Just quit jerking it around and just rip this Band-Aid off already, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a patience thing, right? And I don't know. I'm I'm not the most patient guy, right? Which is good for business sometimes. You know, I'm more of the growth guy, but it's just like having to sit there and just wait. It's just annoying. I'm just like, just do it. Just like, let's grow, let's do it. You know, what are we
Max,
waiting?
I agree, but I was thinking that you're gonna say that you most annoying for you is begging for the like button on the soybean chart.
Yeah, that's not fun. I wish we didn't have to ask for likes, man, but I think people just pop it up and then they kind of forget. They're like, you know.
They
And I don't
do, and
know.
I gotta say, man, Max, I gotta admit myself that whenever I watch a like good show that watches that shows a good alpha, you know, I forget to hit the like button as well, and when they do remind it, I'm like, oh man, that's so stupid, but
Yeah.
Well,
it actually works.
if I see Pi Cycle one more damn time in the comments, I swear to God, we're gonna have a problem.
Will,
Okay.
how
Will's gonna
are you
attack us.
fading the pi cycle, Will?
Dude, don't
I
fade
don't
the
give a
price.
about the Pi Cycle. Okay. There's EMAs, there's EMAs, there's RSI, there's there's stochastic. Go with what they are. There's death crosses. There's no death crosses, and most death crosses that they call death crosses
Will,
usually
bro,
end up
you're
being
making a
pumps.
fool of yourself up here. Will, stop. No, you
Will,
have
you
to
gotta
stop.
stop.
You
Yeah.
guys are
Will,
calling
Will,
MAs.
Will, Will.
No. You
Will,
guys are
this
calling
is
MAs
irreparable. This
a
is
pi
irreparable
cycle.
damage
It's
you're doing.
MAs. It's two
Will,
MAs.
Will, you are embarrassing yourself, bro.
Oh my
You have to
God.
stop. As one friend to another, Will, you can't fade the pi cycle top. Will, you can't do it.
It is not 100% accurate and it lags.
Will, what indicator is 100% accurate?
Yeah.
RSI.
No, that is
No.
not. I can find a million examples of divergences not working how they
What
should,
did
or
he
something
say?
like. Come on now, Will. Again,
They just
please
work
don't.
out later. They just
Will. I
work
care
out
about you.
later.
Will, I care about you too much as a friend, man. I can't let you do this to yourself. You cannot fade the pi cycle top. You
July
cannot do it.
10.
Have you guys heard of the death cross?
July 10.
Death
Yeah.
crosses.
Death cross
Wait,
is the
where
biggest
was the
fucking meme
thing?
in trading.
Tucker, log, bro. Stop fading log.
Where's
Log.
in July?
Log, Tucker. Log. There you go. Don't fade log. Thank you.
Hang on. Where's July? Where's the damn having in 2016?
To the left, just a little bit. Nope, your other left, right
July.
there.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, right there.
You
Did
guys
he
are gonna
say the
make me
10th?
go and get my
I think it
freaking
was like the
MAs, my
16th
old
or
ones,
something.
and pull them out and show you guys. Like it's not hard.
Okay,
to
so
use these.
what's the argument here? We need to go back to orange line. Nah, fam.
No, we don't need to go back to the orange line, bro. Look at the ignore the halving, right? Because we front run the halving a little bit. Like this cycle sped up. Delete those lines. Let me explain to you what I think is.
But
is the
he
most-
really
Max,
wanted the having
I-
context.
hang on.
Well,
Well,
real quick. I know where you're going with this, and I agree with you. I agree
you
with
don't
you.
know where I'm going with this. How
I
do you know
do
where I'm going with this?
because you're going to say that MA can come to the price, which is 100%
No,
exact.
no, I'm not talking about that. Well, that is true, but I wasn't going to say that. That is true. Let me just say what I'm going to say, and then people don't have to guess. Let me just say it. So, Tucker, if you look at where we pot in the right chart, in the 2016, 2017 chart on the right, if you scroll a little to the right, just so we can see the bull market, okay, look at where we swept the previous all-time high. What was the month that we swept it?
What here?
No, to the right there. What month is that?
February, March.
February, March, and we dropped down a little bit. Okay, what month did we kind of do this old sweep right now?
Beginning of March.
Okay, so both of them happened March. So between ignoring the halving and just looking at the calendar dates, both this cycle, do me a favor and just line up the all-time highs. I hate how one is above the other. Okay.
Jumps onto something.
So both in 2016/2017 and then 2023 through 2024, both of these cycles, we swept the previous cycle all-time high after a bear market in March and April. We chopped. and then ultimately started recovering later in Q2 and went on into a raging bull market. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. No,
I
I
think
think
it's less about the halving and
Well,
more.
there's some other issues here too. One's on 1 week, one's on 1 day.
doesn't matter, Will. Doesn't matter.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
matter.
It
Switch
doesn't.
the other one to a week and tell me.
No, it just looks cleaner on the daily.
May,
'Cause
may
back
I
here
add
is
my
stuff in
2
the dark.
cents to this discussion?
Of course, Jackus, you don't have to ask.
All right. So I think both of you kind of make good points. And I think Will has a point and you guys have a point. So looking at the PE cycle top is, as Will says, like it's it's kind of 2 random lines. The thing is that it has worked in the past for Bitcoin, especially these 2 numbers. And what's important to realize is that I think it's worth looking at those for this cycle. But what's also important to keep in mind is that, because specifically for Bitcoin, because it worked in all of those past instances for BTC, therefore it's worth looking into it for this next cycle, as long as it's working. The thing is that it's really just 2 random lines that just work for BTC. It doesn't work if you put it on, for example, Apple or anything. It's not like two specific numbers on those EMAs that would make sense to the markets. And sorry, there was some background noise. And therefore, what can also happen is that PE cycle top indicator this cycle becomes the stock to flow, where everyone is like expecting stock to flow to work and suddenly it
Thank
doesn't.
you.
No,
But
I think
no, wait.
no, you can't be like, oh, it might be different this time. Maybe. Like what?
No,
What?
listen,
That's
Lock
not.
the
Tucker.
flow.
What I'm saying is
Nah.
that the indicator itself is a meme, but it worked with these specific instances. It worked in history for BTC. So if it were to come this time again, it's worth looking into it and using it as a confluence to a broader market data. That said, you shouldn't be waiting until we hit the PE cycle top, because what can happen this cycle is that we don't hit it and then the market tops ahead of it, for example, right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is that
Yeah.
both of you make sense in some degree. I'm not
I,
saying to ignore it. At the same time, I'm not saying wait for it.
I want to add one thing. Just one. All right. I know everybody's eager to jump on this pi cycle top theory. Okay. Actually, 2. I'll be quick. One is pi cycle top always happens on the failed shoulder. Right. We can go to each top and see it.
Okay, we're not trying
2.
to time a top here, though.
Well,
This has nothing to do with the top at
yeah,
all.
but the indicator is called pi cycle top.
Yeah, I know, but like
2.
this is not cycle top type discussion.
Okay, that's fun. That's fun. We're discussing price coming back to an MA. 2 is and 2 specifically is exactly what Jackie says. You can't put this on every other asset and it work the same way. RSI you can put on every single asset out there that will work the same way. Stochastic you can put on every single asset out there and it'll work the same way. That's kind of more what I'm not trying to say this doesn't work. I think it's very much like what he says, whether people want to believe it or not, is a stock to flow scenario. It'll work until it doesn't, right? And don't ignore it until it stops working. Then once it stops working, then you can invalidate the thesis. But I'm not saying invalidate it. I'm simply stating that it'll work until it doesn't, just like, the stock to flow. But if you could put it on every single asset and get the same result, then it would be more entertaining to me. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
and to add to that slightly even more is that these 2 numbers are specifically adjusted for the Bitcoin market. But what they are essentially showing is just that the market got really, really overbought, which can be very useful. But like whenever they will squeeze a lot, that's already telling you that the market is getting pretty overbought to some degree, right? But that doesn't mean it cannot get squeezed even more. But do not be waiting for the exact cross, because that exact cross means nothing. It's just adjusted lines. That said, again, the cross means a lot to current Bitcoin data, because it has been adjusted for the Bitcoin price of its history. All right. So like it's worth looking into it. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, look at the chart, bruv.
I
it
feel
works.
like my response is fair though. I don't feel like I'm being too aggressive with my response.
All right,
No,
here's-
you're not. You're not.
Yeah,
I mean,
but Tucker, that's like
mean-
if you told the plan B, if you told him the
that
stock
guy's
to
a
flow.
clown,
Listen,
dude. That guy's a clown.
but PE cycle top is a clown too. In that,
No.
like yes, it's the same. It's if you told the plan B, if you told him, you know, in 2020, if you told him, hey, listen, the stock to flow won't work because the market will be dependent on supply and demand and not just, you know, the halving narrative, and then he would be like, bro, look at the chart, it's working so far.
No, because his indicator called for 200K last cycle, and this thing sniped the top. There's your difference.
No,
I think it's
it's
becoming less
lagging.
accurate in timing the top because Bitcoin put in an entirely not like separate high after that technically
Higher
was the cycle top. I do think that it probably will be less alpha going forward than it has been in similar fashion to Plan B's method, but that's not to say that we completely ignore it, right?
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily advocating for ignoring it. I was just saying understand that there's issues with it because like again, look at 17. It's a failed shoulder, right? Where it actually crosses.
What are you
There's no
talking about?
indication up to that point.
Like it's
What are you talking
basically a
about? What's where it
battle
crossed?
between
I'm talking about the
the
expansion.
left curve and the right curve, and you want to find the thin line that's between it, because as we said, left curve and right curve is a circle, and you want to be careful. Like you don't want to be the guy saying completely ignore this, right? But at the same time, you want to know the limits it has.
There is some alpha though. Look at 17 on the bull side. See where it tightens? It tightens nearly towards the middle of the market, and we haven't even tightened yet, right?
Well,
Like
look, I think I know. Like once you get above the green line, blue line, whatever you want to call it, once you get above that, that's when you go parabolic, right? That's when you get that. You got to get above this though, and look at 19 too. Look when it ground up against. Look at this. Look at this. Look when it ground up against this line, up against this green line right here. Look,
yeah,
same thing.
I think
right?
there's alpha in that. I think there is alpha in that. Like even in 17, go to 17, look at where it just starts to pinch. That's like the middle of the market there in 17 while it's starting to run up, right? That's not even the top.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, basically, the question is like, do we have to go back to orange line, right? Like, do we have to come back to 53K?
No, orange line can meet green line. That's what a lot of people mess up on, right? Is orange line can go vertical while green line continues to stay vertical, and they can meet in the middle. A lot of people don't understand MAs to that. I understand MAs from like a really high level. Like I used to use them really heavily for scalping. I started out as a scalp trader and then worked my way into swing. But when you see these MAs start to tighten like that, they don't even have to cross. They just have to get close. Once they start getting close, you're going to get that parabolic move. And then once you get the expansion where they start to pull apart from each other, that's where you're going to get absolutely, destroyed. It's going to you're the new guy in prison. Every guy in there is eating their lunch. You walked in and they just turn their head, right? They're ready to go.
Oh, here we
So-
go again. Here we go again. All right.
The new guy in prison.
That's your expansion phase for these we'll call them pi cycles. I just call them MAs. But that expansion of the MAs is like that expansion of the new guy, right? So
Oh my god.
Okay. All right. We're gonna move on.
Oh,
We're gonna never
catch
mention that again, Will. Thank you very much.
That one belongs in the Dr. Outlook Hall of Fame.
That one really does, man. That was a classic Will's Outlook, man. I don't even know what to say back to that, bro. That was outrageous. There's no other word. Dude, imagine being in that red box and just not owning altcoins. I just could never do that. And imagine fading the pi cycle top indicator.
That's what I was about to say. Imagine looking at this and being like, Nah.
Bro, I could never. I could never do that, man. Ever.
Oh
I
my
would never
God.
fade the pi cycle top, bro.
I don't think anyone should be fading the pi cycle top, but there will be lots of people using that and just waiting for the pi cycle top to cross. And that, like, what I'm basically saying is that they could end up waiting because, for example, this cycle it doesn't have to cross, or maybe it crosses way later on. So.
Well, think about what people thought when there was no pi cycle top and we broke all-time high in Q4 of 2021. They probably thought we were going to the moon, and they got wrecked. So
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the thing too. A lot that mid market in between those two tops, everybody sold there. Everybody sold. And they ran it back up, and everybody bought back in a second time at the top and got double wrecked. And that's why I like EMAs. I like the whole tightening and expansion portions because those are really good portions to tell where you're kind of like starting to take off and where you're starting to end. But it's not the say all be all when it comes to, you have to use a lot of indicators in confluence with it, right? For me, it was RSI. RSI really took it takes that front seat every single cycle of like just topping around that 90 range, right? And that's really what I like to use as that scenario of like, okay, we're around that 90. It doesn't mean it's over. It just means that I need to start paying attention. And with these pi cycle tops, they expand so fast you won't even see it coming by the time it actually hits you.
This is what you need to do, man. You need to close a candle above the green line, and that's it. You're going. Like, that's literally 75K. That's it. You're flying. It's over.
Yes.
Like that's literally it.
Agreed on that. But again, what P cycle top is telling you is basically is a EMA deviation. It's a moving average deviation. That's all it is. So it's telling you the deviation from the mean price, from the mean average price is what it's telling you. And it's adjusted for past Bitcoin data.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, like even though like this is the tricky part. If you've ever been a scalper, you know this is your bottom MA that you usually use as supportive. So let's say it's bouncing between these two prices, like Bollinger Bands, and your bottom MA is pulled away, and you think their price has to come back to it. No, your MA can actually come to price, depending on how vertical it gets.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
real.
So even though you're expecting support for price to come back to support, it's actually support coming to price.
I mean, I think if you can't flip this, if you can't get above this line, this 75K, then you will come back here, most likely, right? If you can't get up, if we come up to 75K and get smacked again, then that might be a case for coming back. And this thing would move up, right? Like,
yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
60K.
You would probably be a lot higher.
Be like that, right? So, but if we just get above this thing like we did in 2020, right? You just put a candle, you just blast through this. There's literally no retest, like none. Like, look at this.
But you're so close to tightening here, Tucker. That's the alpha. You're so close to tightening here that you need to be in before the upside actually blows, right? This thing's ready to pop.
Oh yeah, it's like if you're sidelined here, it's like you could buy a little here. If you come down, you get more. If not, there you go. Right? If it does,
I'm more in the camp that if we do hit the bottom orange line, it's gonna happen because we range for a long time and it catches up to price, not price drops to it. Honestly,
where's the
same here, Max. I'm in the same boat.
I mean, dude, imagine we literally range between 63 and 73 for like another 60 to 90 days. Can you imagine? Imagine we don't start pumping until like the very tail end of Q2. Imagine that.
That's actually what I'm thinking. I'm thinking 2 months after the halving, everybody gives up at that point. Everybody's looking for the big drop, and then this thing rips.
The bull market support band. $55K. I don't know, man. I don't know if you get it. I don't know.
Yeah, you might not.
I mean, either way, doesn't even matter. Grand scheme of things, who cares? Short term, that'd be tough. That'd be tough.
Imagine alt in that scenario.
Yeah, you get destroyed for sure. You get absolutely destroyed. But
You don't need to watch a horror movie. Just that imagination would kill you. Heart attack.
I mean, some of my alts, I'm already down 50%. I'm okay with another 50 to 100%.
100% down.
100% Zero.
My alts will resurrect from the ashes.
Hey, Tommy, we were talking the other day, man. I'm like bullish on rugs as long as they still got a couple dollars in there.
Well, you understand what the implication of 100% drawdown means, right?
I'm bullish on rugs, man. I'm bullish on them.
If Will takes his alt bags to zero and then they come back from zero, he just makes a ton of money. Oh, there is no second best Will's outlook. There really isn't.
Actually, imagine if you said it on oil a few years ago, that you're gonna buy oil at zero.
Bro, after that happened to oil, that made me really bullish on rugs. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was like, if oil can do this, anything can do it.
We printed a pattern on the hourly, something like that. Maybe it was a little bit more lower time frame on the way up from like 50K. I don't know if you guys remember. I know exactly the pattern though, because I was long during it. Yeah, somewhere in a little bit on the 12th, 13th, and 14th, something like that. Is basically what we're seeing on a lower time frame right now. I guess the structure looks a little bit more busted, but you know, more or less, I think that's probably what that'd be the ideal scenario, obviously, a V recovery out of the dip. But yeah, the structure does look a little more busted than that. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't know if we start
Ethereum pump though,
more, then altcoins just continue to, you know, they do this thing, man. They've been doing this where they just bleed back to range lows repeatedly and nuke all of the open interest that came in on them on the way up. But if, you know, otherwise I'd probably be expecting Bitcoin to start carving out some lows here on a lower time frame.
So boom.
But I also, you know, I think if you were to pull back to like 55K on Bitcoin, that's not really the type of scenario where I think altcoins V recover out of. They're going to need probably significantly more time in that scenario.
ETH blew right out that.
Probably going to lead for a while.
My thoughts on ETH are that I'm not fudding it, so clearly something's changed.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's the real alpha.
And I love fudding ETH, guys. It gives me life and energy and contributes to my soul. But I have a lot of ETH beta at the moment because I don't
succumb to the dark side.
I put this on my my X account this morning. By the way, I hate saying X, man. I want to just call it Twitter, but
same.
Tucker, if you were to
it's
look
like
at
a porn site when you say X.
Yeah, it's so it feels awkward, man. My X account, like it's just so uncomfortable. If you would be so kind to pull up the weekly time frame and then RSI. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's go to ETH BTC. My bad. My bad.
ETH BTC.
We printed a triple bull div on the weekly time frame here.
Prepare yourself. Oh, never mind.
Where's the Wu Manchu?
Yeah, it's not on ETH BTC.
Can we get rid of that LARPy yellow line though?
Dude,
I don't know
why do they do that?
It's not even.
Wait. Click save as default now on the RSI settings. It will save like this.
No, dude, I swear I've done it like 10 times and it just doesn't.
It works for me.
We'll see.
All right, so maybe just identify that bull div right there. So draw, you know, an angle down right there, Tucker. Yeah. And then yeah, exactly. I mean, we're in a 6-month accumulation, in my opinion. And we've now printed a triple bull div on the weekly time frame, which is a really strong, like, bullish flashing signal. With that said, if we did deviate lower on the ETH BTC pair, I feel like it would really only be for like a springboard that would ultimately serve as a launch pad to take us much higher. Yeah, exactly. So I really think we've been holding here for 6 months, and we're seeing momentum oscillators starting to print like flashing bullish signs like this that Tucker's drawn for us. Maybe zoom in a little, Tucker, just so they can see it. Yeah, like that. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is undoubtedly like a bullish, this is a bullish sign, right? And then also contextually, my expectation with alt starting to perk up, you know, over the next 60 days, when Bitcoin finally decides to stop chopping around, I would expect altcoins led by Ethereum to really outperform the remainder of the cycle, which adds a bit of like a kind of contextual confluence with this pattern that's playing out right here. So,
have we seen any similar RSI before?
Listen, it's legit the same as when everyone flooded Bitcoin when it was ranging down there at 20, 25K. And the thing is that people don't realize, but you guys remember when I was saying that time is one of the most important factors in markets, and you can get time capitulation. And how do you create sentiment? You do that with time. When something spends lots of time being up, it's like you can look at Kuji, right? It spent 6 months at that top distribution, and all the way it's up there. People are still hopeful that it's going to pump. It's only until it breaks below that range lows where people give up. Now ETH has broken down here. It's spending so much time here. It's been 6 months, and people are extremely frustrated. This creates the sentiment how long we are down here. But like when Bitcoin was trading down there, it was it created the sentiment, and people still, all the way until this day, they cannot get out of that sentiment. They still think that this is just some random rally and it's all going to come back crashing down, and they are doing the same thing here with ETH.
I actually agree. As somebody who's been fudding the crap out of ETH for my own enjoyment, it does kind of remind me of the sentiment that we saw at that 25K low on Bitcoin, where everybody, I think the right phrase is basically like they were starting to just kind of give up on Bitcoin's ability to be able to hold that support, and they were bracing for impact more or less. And I think you're probably seeing the same thing with ETH Bitcoin. Like if you were to invert ETH Bitcoin, I think really the last chance to break it down was kind of last week, at least as far as if we were going to have it driven by USD downside. So if you were to invert ETH Bitcoin, it looks kind of like a failed breakout, in my opinion. So
peep the RSI, really brother. Peep the RSI.
Tell me, they legit try to even sue Ethereum. They tried to sue Coinbase. They tried everything. Every Bitcoin maxi out there was super loud. We had Peter Brandt yesterday fudding it at the bottom, and they tried everything to bring it down, and so far it couldn't. So, and I think the moment it flips higher, it will be like on Bitcoin. Everyone will be just saying like, yeah, this is the cartel pump, and it's going to come back crashing down, and people will not realize until it trades above 10,000 satoshis, and then maybe it will be similar to Bitcoin at all-time high.
Which side of the screen is correct? You choose, Anon. You choose.
Tucker, I want you to go to Bitcoin at 25K for me.
Do you see this artwork that's been done here?
Oh, I see it.
Look at this, man. Look at the RSI. on both of them, you could argue on both, it looks so similar. Like the bottom double spike, drop it down. You're either here at the bottom or you're about to put in another little. Look at this shit, man. Look at
Tucker.
this.
Tucker. I think both are good examples, and that's why I always say that you need to apply context. And if you look at the left green box, you will realize it's been sitting right above that low. It was sitting right above that low. It did not sweep it. It was sitting right above there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it could still do that.
And it was
for
after
sure.
the largest altcoin bubble in the whole crypto. I know the 2017 one was definitely bigger than the 2021.
What if it does that? Are you ready for that?
It wouldn't shock me, but it's if that happens, I think that means Bitcoin USD frickin' chads from here. So I don't think that would be like inherently bearish for the market.
No, I know. I don't think it would either.
That would legit have to be Bitcoin above 100K. I agree, guys.
I mean, if Bitcoin does what it did last cycle, it should literally go straight from here to like 90K in like not very long, like in like a month. So, I mean, that would line up. I just think RSI looks similar to do that, or it's bottomed, and you're still gonna take forever to grind up here.
I think ETH BTC is bottomed, bro. Like the way ETH moved the other day, like it chatted off 3,200, went straight to like 3,700. I don't think there's any more bottoming for ETH. Like it's gonna move heavily, I think, from here.
I think what Will says is a good one too, because BTC yesterday was approaching its all-time high yesterday, BTC, and ETH outperformed it. That's
I kind of think the bottom, as somebody who's been saying I think ETH Bitcoin's going to break down, I'm kind of starting to lean that the bottom's in as well. I mean, this is the cheapest ETH has been against Bitcoin in over 3 years. So from a cyclical standpoint, I think that makes a lot of sense to me as well.
Yeah, even if it is bottom, though, you're going to take some, you're going to take some time here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the aggressive trend against Bitcoin is probably still a few quarters away. To be totally honest, like I don't think that ETH is just going to giga chad out of this. If it has bottomed, I don't think it's just going to massively rip to range highs in the next few weeks, but a few months, few quarters, I definitely think that outperformance can be achieved, right? Assuming that we have bottomed here, as I kind of think we have again on this pair, right?
I'm siding with the fact that it probably chats the moment ETHUSD breaks all-time highs. At that point, I don't see a reason why ETHBTC wouldn't outperform.
Tucker, can you pull up a double chart real quick and just pull ETH up and then pull BTC up and look at the 2020 to 2021 run? So at what point did ETH and BTC kind of play hand in hand where ETH started actually outperforming?
I'm sure it was December of the halving year.
Can you show it on the chart for the audience?
What?
Just kind of where BTC started at the top and where Ethereum kept continuing to outperform.
I mean, ETH topped a month after Bitcoin. I guess you could, yeah. May 10th. Let's put this on the daily.
I mean, if you look at there too, like on a time frame wise, like ETH went really fast too. A lot of people had no time to catch it. It just moved too quick.
Bitcoin topped April 14th. ETH topped a month later.
But how much was the outperformance there?
You'd have to look at ETH BTC.
So from that bottom portion down there around I think the 16th on the left side of that on ETH. Yeah. Now let's draw that same line. The six. Sorry, go back to 6. Yeah, right there. Yep. Now same performance for Bitcoin. What was the performance difference?
What's the April?
Yeah, let's do the bottom of April to the top.
I don't know. I'm sure it outperformed it by a lot, though, right? Like,
Yeah. Like alts really started to outperform after Bitcoin made that first peak in around 30-40K.
Let's visit January of 2021 for both.
but look at that. The complacency shoulder was the peak for ETH on Bitcoin, right? This was the peak.
That it always is.
Yeah.
Look at 2017. Is very similar scenario.
Wow.
Guys, look at this. I found an interesting chart here on ETH-BTC that we were just discussing, and this is the monthly. You know, as we like to say, put on the monthly. But look at the RSI here. You know, it's nearly the same level as being oversold, and this marked the bottom. So not saying, you know, this cannot go that way, but look at this damn retest.
I think if you were to overlay Bitcoin going from 25 to 31K from the XRP driven pump and overlay that half of the 25 to 30K consolidation on Bitcoin, you'd probably paint a pretty clean bottom if I had to guess. Not that I've done it, but I'm assuming that it'd probably line up pretty close.
Oh, man.
Why is it that lots of these big known accounts always have some absolutely absurd targets?
You remember when if we
Zero.
lost 27K, we were going to 0, and then we did this and went straight up in a straight line. There is no second best. Oh, man. Man, oh, man.
But yeah, Tucker, if you want to try to overlay Bitcoin from that first 25K low and pump, and you just did it, I mean, just do it to the ETF range. You don't have to do the whole thing because, I mean, it's a pair. It probably won't play out to the same.
What? Starting with
like
the pump?
There, yeah, just do it to like January or February of 2024. Something like that. Yeah. If we throw that on ETH Bitcoin.
By the way, what do we think about Larry launching on Ethereum? Like, I feel that news went completely unnoticed by.
For some reason, when you said that, Jackus, you triggered Siri on my computer.
I heard that and I was like, who's that?
Oh, man.
That one?
Look at that.
Who could have foreseen?
I lied. I actually did.
Can you imagine if that played out? Oh, my.
Yes. So I think it's probably a few quarters away if we have bottomed, but I think there's a pretty good case that the bottom's in.
I mean, that would imply literally like spot ETFs for ETH getting approved, and then just TradFi goes crazy and just loves staking their ETH and just, I mean, look at that thing, man. Through 2026. Oof, man.
Here's the thing, though.
Be in shambles.
Max, that could also imply that people already know that ETFs are coming even a year or two out, and they're starting to bid ahead of it, right? And I think like a lot of people are not considering that scenario. They think that ETFs have to happen this cycle, when in reality, people could start bidding this well ahead of ETFs.
The
I would
ETFs
argue
the expectation of not too much lower lows.
They are coming.
I think you could argue that an ETF rejection in May would be more bullish for ETH because it's like it's like the whole sell the news thing, right? You always have it in your back pocket to look forward to. And so if you get it rejected, ETH still has that narrative that people can realistically bid ahead of. So
Yep, exactly.
What would this mean for Pepe? Oh my God, Gorillions. Gorillions. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Oh,
That's some funny
insane.
shit. Will Smith meme. Listen. I'm gonna share a chart here. What if
What if?
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm back. Oh, all right, man. What else do you guys want to look at?
You can see ETH running the low one more time and then bouncing.
I wanna look at the like button and then wrap up probably.
Imagine being bearish on the next Luna. Don't be a clown, guys. Don't be a clown.
This is important for ETH too, Tucker, because
I know.
if you line up ETH Bitcoin with Curve USD, it lines up very, very closely. Actually, at least all of ETH Bitcoin's pumps happen when Curve USD pumped, and that doesn't just mean that DeFi as a sector pumped every time that ETH pumped. It's inherently tied to on-chain leverage being bullish for ETH, like it just is. And so, I mean, and ETH needs new Ponzi's to, create that leverage, because clearly Curve is incapable of creating that leverage anymore. But, and we've talked about that, very long time ago, but, we do need more Ponzi's on ETH, and they're coming.
Do you know what that Ponzi on ETH is? Do you know what it is?
Are you going to say like Egan, Monad, one of those names, or
restaking?
Yeah, that's right.
I get there. Yeah.
It's so easy because at that point, everyone is buying ETH. You're going to buy ETH, stake it, and then you're going to restake on your favorite chain. And at that point, everyone has an incentive to hold ETH.
That's true. I was looking at a chart of staked ETH against ETH as a pair. Their market caps, that is, not their prices. I was trying to find some alpha over the weekend. I didn't find any, but I assume that staked ETH against ETH, just comparing their market caps, will probably become more important as the cycle goes on, for what you just described, Jackus. And truthfully, TradFi will probably be way more into the staking narrative than crypto natives, because I just don't really think it's that exciting for degens. But for TradFi, people who love bonds, it probably will be a pretty hot narrative.
Yeah, and let's be honest, at the point, it's going to go like this, right? You're gonna get ETF launch on Ether. You're gonna get restaking, and you already have BlackRock launching USDC on Ethereum. So 100 million, right, fund or whatever that was. So it's going to go like this. You're gonna get all of these, and this market is anyway, whether it's Bitcoin or Ether, both of these markets are now. They are not retail driven anymore. They are institutional driven. You can clearly see that whenever we get the ETF inflows or outflows. So it's going to get pumped. And as you said, that Ether yield is going to be so lucrative for institutions to hold. And they'll buy ETH and hold it for the next 10 years.
They love their yield in TradFi, man. Nobody does yield like TradFi.
Nobody does yield, yeah.
Imagine fading the market until that chart hits the bottom, right? The reverse repo.
This is their balance sheet. This is reverse
one.
repo.
Oh man.
Money velocity.
I honestly think, guys, let's entertain this idea, and then we probably wrap it up. But I think that they're gonna take the reverse repo down to 0, and there is still some room for that. And when that happens, they probably start. They end the QT and start printing.
Yeah. I mean, this, they're going to slow the pace of their balance sheet runoff. You're going to see this thing. He already said this. You're going to see this thing do this, which is going to be insanely bullish.
And I think it's going to be way quicker, like in the past cycle.
You're going to literally see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hour 20. I think it's time to wrap it up. Lance, do your thing, man. Take us out.
For sure, guys. Another fantastic show. As always, guys, we talked everything from pi cycles, and I finally stopped FUDing ETH. So, like I said, I do think that that's somewhat notable given how much I love FUDing ETH, man. I might even still keep FUDing it, even though ETH Bitcoin might have bottomed, just because for posterity's sake. But regardless, guys, a reminder, as we mentioned last week, we did launch the BB Academy. That's something that we have been working on for the past 8 or 9 months. You guys can get educational tips and bits from everyone on this panel. And we all worked very hard to develop that for you guys. It's a very digestible course and a very digestible price point for only a very short period of time. So I would make sure to hop on that deal before we raise prices on it by a lot, because that's a more fair value price for what that course offers you guys. But yeah, real quickly to touch on our programming as well here before we wrap up. As you guys know, Market Check will be back tomorrow, as well as every weekday, with a typical start time around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk charts, technicals, pi cycle tops, ETH FUD, everything in between, guys.
Can't help himself.
We talk about soybeans
Can't
too.
help himself. ETH FUD. You even though you want to be bullish ETH, you just can't help yourself, Tommy. It's in you.
ETH going up would be good for my bags, but damn, is it fun to FUD ETH, man. But we also talk soybeans from time to time. If you're a regular listener, you know exactly what we mean when we say that. But yeah, we have a lot of fun on this show. And as always, we will be back for another episode of Market Check tomorrow morning at 11 Eastern Standard. Like I said, that's our typical start time. We also have Market Talk, which has a bit of variance in our start time, but we are changing the start time for Market Talk more and more to be before the closing bell by about an hour or 2 hours. I'll get with Wabi to get the exact time and schedule for you guys, but we always communicate the timing of our spaces the day of with through our Twitter. So make sure to set us on notifications on Twitter if you haven't already, and subscribe to our spaces so that you can be notified whenever we go live. But Wabi does a great job with those spaces. We talk markets, always have some really great guests on, like I said. And it's just like Market Check in the sense that you never know the angle that the show is going to be able to go, right? We could be talking about meme coins, we could be talking about bonds, but at the end of the day, it's always very well produced and a great show, very entertaining. But that's it from us, guys. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow and see you guys tomorrow morning in the afternoon if you're European. But to our Giga Chads, we will see you for the afternoon call around the closing bell. Y'all have a great rest of your day. And thanks again for tuning in.